This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, hello, it's me, your pal, Jenny Owen Youngs, alone in Introville. Where's Kristin? She's busy. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Just one thing really to tell you about before we get into the episode, and that's the results of last episode's Sexual Attention Awards. Are you prepared? Ready thyself if you are not. In fifth place, with 4% of the vote, the odds were stacked against them to begin with, and probably will be for all time. It's Big Tent and Revival, losing big in this round. In fourth place, with 9% of the vote, well, if it isn't my old nemesis, Butts, and my old best friend turned frenemy, Coffers. Looks like we won't be repairing that bridge anytime soon, Butts and or Coffers. Tied for second place. That's right, I skipped from fourth to second because I think that's how it works when there's a tie. Tied for second place with 16% of the vote. On one side of the coin, we have grasshoppers and potatoes. And on the other side of the coin, we have Mulder and Scully. Both Mulder and Scully and grasshoppers and potatoes, each earning 16% of the vote. I shudder to think about what that means for Mulder and Scully and grasshoppers and potatoes. Like, the mothership as an institution is sometimes only as popular as grasshoppers and potatoes, although those grasshoppers really wanted those potatoes. They flew through a lot of vent work. But it brings me just incredible joy to tell you about first place. In first place with 54% of the vote, it's A, yours truly, and B, Anton Chekhov, my favorite guy to reference when things are telegraphed in a show. What a chill guy. And so perceptive. Just, okay. So a trophy will be coming to me. A trophy will be arriving at Anton's current location imminently. But while we wait for those trophies to ship, let me just tell you that I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you on the other side.
A true piece of history, Scully. The very first X-File, initiated by J. Edgar Hoover himself in 1946. During World War II, a series of murders occurred in and around the Northwest, 7 here in Browning alone. Each victim was basically ripped to shreds and eaten as if by a wild animal. However, many of the victims were found at home, as if they allowed their killer to enter. In 1946, police cornered what they believed to be such an animal in a cabin in Glacier National Park. They shot it, but when they went in to retrieve the carcass, they found only the body of Richard Watkins.
Hello, and welcome to the X-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we are watching and discussing every episode of the X-Files one by one, spoiler-free. I am Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the X-Files.
And I am Kristin Russo, ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs, and I've only ever seen 19 episodes of the X-Files. Today, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 19, Shapes.
Shapes was written by Marilyn Osborne, directed by David Nutter, and originally aired on April 1st, 1994.
This is the one, according to IMDb, where a creature, possibly from Native American lore, is suspected of killing a man, bringing Mulder and Scully to the Indian reservation where the attack occurred in order to uncover its identity. Obviously, we will have a lot to discuss here. Number one, so we're going to talk, I'm sure, at multiple points about a podcast that you should listen to, Métis in Space. Métis in Space tackles a lot of episodes of television. We talked about them in our coverage of Pangs in the Buffyverse when we were covering Buffy. And they are Indigenous folks talking about how Indigenous folks are portrayed in media, and they covered this episode. So that link is going to be at the tippity top of the show notes because you can hear them discuss it, which we highly, highly recommend. One of the things that I remember them mentioning in their conversation was this idea of Native American lore, as though there's like one, like it's just one thing. It's just one giant. It's just one thing. So, you know, we will touch on this throughout the episode. We did more research. We had more conversations going into this, and we'll touch on some points. But our email is always open, hello@bufferingcast.com. We do our best to responsibly cover episodes of television that irresponsibly portray people of color. So we're going to do our best here, but we can keep the conversation going.
Producer LaToya Ferguson gives this episode a scary rating of 1.5 out of 5 Awooos, which she specifies I had to do it to him. And the 0.5 is because she could see they were attempting to do a scary werewolf story. And so it's 0.5 points for effort. Mm-hmm. And then 1.4, of course,
the credits.
What if we took the major version of the credits theme and somehow stitched it into every episode just for LaToya, so she doesn't have to be scared,
so she can feel like she's on top of the world, skipping through a field of flowers before she enters into the episode.
Yeah. I wonder if that would change her experience of the actual episode. Like, I wonder if they would feel scarier if she didn't have to get through the credits.
Right. Like, instead of sort of warming up to something scary, she is actually thinking she's walking into a rom-com and then slammed in the face with
kablam.
Yeah. So, okay, we obviously have big thoughts about this episode. Oh, Jenny has a I'm ready to talk about my big thoughts face on.
Yeah. Well, okay, aside from what we've already aside from the gigantic elephant in the room that we're going to try to address responsibly, I had a couple other notes. My biggest note is that Ty Miller, who plays Lyle Parker, at the time of filming, he is 30, giving like 40 to 45, but is written like a 15-year-old boy. He's like, wow, my pa, you know, I wish your brother was alive. Like, it just like everything, every line this poor man has to deliver feels so inappropriate coming out of his mouth. He's like, this comes off as this like sort of not a girl, not yet a woman. Kind of individual, and
his hairstyle really checks out with that too. I said the Farrah Fawcett do on this guy is absolutely out of this world.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I know that the hosts at Métis in Space took issue with the drumming at certain ceremonial points, and I defer to them in that department. But I did notice, wow, there's not like a overwhelming amount of inappropriate like scary flute music or whatever. Like the score feels very reined in. I feel like there was a lot of like English horn or something, which feels, you know, like in a different world.
There was only one moment, I think, when we're in Ish's cabin that things were like really bordering on it was not a pan flute, but like from our Buffy conversations, you know, I was just sort of like laying in wait for that pan flute to hit.
Yeah. I was clenched for the whole episode. When is it going to happen?
Yeah. They talk about it in Métis in Space that they were pretty pleased that there was not any notable, you know, pan flute, etc. used here. So
one last thing before we get to your big thoughts. I was looking on the fandom wiki and I noticed something about the script. So Marilyn Osborne wrote the script, but Glenn Morgan and James Wong, who I think were kind of like mentoring her through the process because she was pretty new to screenwriting, ended up rewriting the script at some point. And I was looking at the script draft notes on the wiki, which are like, the script went through 4 drafts. Here are the dates. The shooting script, which was compiled from these various drafts, includes the scene wherein Scully struggles to shoo a cow away.
Oh, why? That is a crime to not have given us that scene.
Don't you feel like you have been robbed?
I have been robbed. What the fuck?
I know. It really hurts me that they would do this to us.
I would love to. Maybe they felt like she had too recently talked about a horse's shoe to then also be shooing a cow away, you know?
Yeah. Okay, tell me your big thoughts, please.
I was not like over the moon with this episode. I definitely, you know, have been a lot more wowed by a lot of other narrative arcs. I will say that I was pretty into the werewolf stuff, just in terms of like visual effects. And I think that's, I don't know if the X-Files deserves that. It's just that my bar was set from the Buffyverse werewolves, which are literally Party City werewolf costumes. And so
I disagree. I regret to inform everyone.
Wait, do you think all I'm saying is that I thought they did a better job with this than the Buffy werewolves? Yes or no? You disagree with that?
Maybe just ever so slightly, but probably largely due to Nutter's direction and the choice to mostly keep it off screen.
Yeah, like obviously the couple of moments in this episode where we see like a full body of a werewolf like throttling through the air, like no, clearly no. But the choice, you know, the close-ups on the werewolf's face are like a little silly. They kind of reminded me of like Never-Ending Story vibes, you know, where you can like see just like a segment of the snout and eye.
This just looks like it came from the slightly more expensive Party City aisle. It's like the roped off section of Halloween Spirit. Like, please ask for assistance if you'd like to look at this werewolf costume.
Yeah, I just had an easier time like thinking, okay, this is like a human and also a wolf than I ever did with the face of a werewolf in Buffy. And I really liked this scene, and maybe you will take me to task for this, but I really liked the moment when Lyle is in the bathroom and he sort of arches his back and he's like all sweaty and shit and his fangs come out. Like I thought that
Lyle's transformation stuff looks great. It's just like the full wolf. Yeah. Not so great. Also, should we just establish we're going to call this a werewolf, right? We're not going to say Manitou because that feels inappropriate.
For fuck's sake. Yeah, I mean, we might as well come out of the gates with that since you've brought it to the table. Jenny, do you want to talk about some of the like quotes that you found around the use of the word Manitou? Manitou is the super, super, super overarching understanding of Manitou, which is a real concept. It is an Algonquin word that is used to describe the spiritual and fundamental life force among Algonquian groups. So, you know, pretty. This is yeah.
I mean, it reminded me a lot of the way that this show dealt with the concept of the Jersey Devil, which is obviously like not anyone's, you know, the Jersey Devil isn't close to anyone's heart, you know, or like sense of identity, or like, you know, it's not a sensitive topic or one that you need to necessarily approach with respect. It's a friggin' wingy ding who's got the legs of a deer and the wings of a bat. It's just like it's whatever. It's a monster by committee. But this show took the very well established idea of what is the Jersey Devil, and they were like, no, actually, it's this completely other thing, just because that's what we feel like writing the episode about. And you could have just had the episode Jersey Devil be not called the Jersey Devil.
Yeah,
you know, there was no reason for that entity to be dubbed the Jersey Devil.
No, I mean, you could have called this simply a werewolf or anything else that is not an established honored concept inside of an indigenous culture. Like it just, especially because Jenny, I'm sure you also found this out in your research, but this is the name given to the indigenous folks in this episode are Trego, Trego. That is not real. They simply just made that up. And I don't know exactly why you would make something up, but if you're going to make that up, then at least don't fucking swipe an actual concept from indigenous people to use as your werewolf. Like that just is wild. And I was going to play the white supremacy jingle later, but like, let's just fucking throw it in right here at the top.
You know what that sounds like to me? White supremacy. Woven in not too subtly. White supremacy. Open your eyes and that's where you'll find it. Crush that white supremacy.
Okay, I just want to share a quote from the X-Files Book of the Unexplained, written by Jane Goldman, who feels that the episode seriously misrepresents the lore it's portraying, noting that, quote, for many natives, calling a crazed man-eating beast Manitou is like calling Charles Manson God, end quote. Okay.
It's a really wild choice. A really wild choice. So yeah, we'll bring that all into the episode with us. And we will be, yes, Jenny calling this a werewolf, because according to everything else that I've ever understood, that is what this is. Also, just like mythology wise, I thought it was a little bit confusing that there was a conversation around this being passed down through like a bloodline, but then also if you get bitten or scratched, like if the lore that we commonly understand to apply to werewolves, which is if you get bitten by a werewolf, you turn into a werewolf. That's just the vibe. That's just what we know. So if that is inserted into this as well, then there would be no reason why this community of indigenous folks would need to contain the thing, because clearly someone has been bitten and that person has been, like, clearly it has gone outside of the bounds of this community.
Also, Joe Goodensnake was the wolf and then died, and then what? It just jumped. It hopped via bloodline to Gwen, was their theory, without any sort of like path. It's just like same.
Yeah, it was.
On to the next Goodensnake.
I'm learning to, just sort of lean into most of these kinds of things with
right.
X-Files
We often say
one.
Don't worry about it on the X-Files, but today we worry about it.
Today we're going to worry about it a little bit. Okay.
Yes, David Nutter, give me lightning flashing across the face of multiple taxidermied animals.
Yeah.
Let me bathe in it. What's up, Sam Elliott's brother, basically?
Yeah.
Ranch Dad. Jim Parker.
I called him White Dude for a while. I called this the White Dude's Lodge until I learned his name.
Kristin, urged on by a listener request, I was looking at the exterior, right, of the, you're looking out from the ranch house. You've got this fence, and then there are these tall pine trees. And somebody recently was like, you guys haven't been very good at, like, noticing when Vancouver doesn't look like, wherever they happen to be saying. Exactly. So I looked up Browning, Montana, and I saw many photographs of endless treeless meadows stretching way out into the distance towards rolling mountains. And I also saw some low, hardy shrubs. I saw absolutely no big, tall Vancouverian pines. So I just want to call that out. I'm keeping an eye out for this sort of thing moving forward.
I just have to take a moment, Jenny, to lift you up and sing your praises, because, so many people would have just said, like, I didn't see a lot. It was pretty flat, a couple of shrubs. But, like, what we just got from you was a tiny little poem. I think you said low, hardy shrubs. It was just delight. It's a delight to the ears. So good job choosing to be a podcaster.
Thank you.
If your co-host and ex-wife still enjoys listening to you talk, you're doing something right,
Praise. I was just in Nashville for a few days playing a show, and it was part of a festival. So a lot of people came to the show who who did know who I was, but then a lot of people came to the show who had no idea who I was. And I was chatting with a couple of those people at the merch table after the show, and they were like, we enjoyed your banter so much. The whole time you were talking, we were just like, I wonder if she's ever considered starting a podcast. And I was like, have I got news for you?
Friends, you have days worth of content for your ears. Days.
Many
maybe
days.
Weeks? I don't even know the math on that.
So some non-government issue flashlights are being deployed in the barn as Jim Parker and Lyle Parker, his son, are trying to figure out what's going on. They come across a mutilated cattle, and it takes Mulder every ounce of strength he has in his being not to just pop up right here and say, did someone say mutilated cattle?
Okay, I have a question that's really important. And I think I know the answer, but I want to confirm it in pod. We count flashlights when Mulder and Scully use flashlights. We don't just count flashlight use. It has
That's
to
what we
be,
do here.
and we get that anyway. So don't worry, we'll still get our flashlight tick. But we've got a neighing horse, we've got a dead cow, all the kinds of things you really don't want to see when you are in the barn with your flashlight or here. And then we get the close up that Kristin gives, a 25% improvement over Buffy Wolfie face. And then we see the wolf attack Lyle. Jim, the dad, shoots the wolf, but then actually this is not a wolf. This is a man, and this is an Indigenous man from the reservation who we learn very shortly after they've actually been in a court case battle with. So this is bad on every count. Biggest one being that we have opened the episode and the first person of color that we see is already not alive.
Yeah. It's not great. Not great, Kristin.
Not great. But we go to the credits so that we can get distracted by a tiny cloud that looks like a UFO for a moment.
We come back on a taxidermy bear, making me very happy.
The Métis and Space Girls talked about how much taxidermy is in this house, and one of them I think had a friend who lived in a very small home, but it was full of taxidermy, and was just in this lodge, and if the lights are off and you need to find the bathroom, you are simply just bumping into all kinds of taxidermy no matter which way you go.
Yep.
Okay, I want to talk about this. We're in the lodge. I called it a lodge. And Jim is here, who's a ranch dad, and Mulder and Scully are here. They've arrived on the scene, and there's also a lawyer dude here because of the aforementioned court case.
Right.
Jim's first lines are, "I'm not a killer. I never meant to hurt no one." Let's just stop there for 1 second, because I was already like, oh, wow, this is the perfect example of what white people do in so many scenarios, right? There's this, first of all, out of the gates, binary thinking, you either are a killer or you're not a killer. I feel is just so black and white, I am not this bad thing, therefore I did not do this bad thing. And then the second to follow that up with, I never meant to hurt no one, is simply centering the intention completely, right? I didn't mean to, so therefore it cannot be bad. And I thought it was a nice lens to put over the whole episode and episodes like this. I meant to do a good thing, so that's what should count. And it's well, no, actually that is not what counts. That is your intention, but your impact is actually what counts. So I had already called for the white supremacy jingle before we got to his next line, which is, but he just throws a butt right in there. I'm tired of my cattle being killed. And essentially says that, you know what? I didn't mean to do this thing, but if this guy was killing my cattle and I killed him because I didn't know, then that's not my fault, man. He was killing my cattle, so therefore I should be able to have killed this man.
Sir?
So, sir, I know that I already deployed the white supremacy jingle earlier, but this just felt to me like the centerpiece of white supremacist thinking, white supremacy, how white people center themselves and their intentions in all situations. And I just feel it's a good lens to go into the rest of the episode with.
Indeed. Okay. Lyle follows Mulder and Scully outside. Because he's like, I got to tell you some stuff that my dad wouldn't be comfortable.
Because he's not a girl, but not yet a woman.
Exactly.
He's not ready for
like,
that kind of,
He's like, I've been feeling something out there. Like nature herself was terrified. Okay. And then he goes on to say,
It gave me the creeps.
The creeps?
Yeah, the creeps. Don't you ever get the creeps?
okay, first of all, Lyle, you're asking the wrong medical doctor if she's ever gotten the creeps. And second of all, this is a moment at which I said, who's writing this thing?
Oh my God. I think Gillian Anderson may have also said that in this moment with her eyes.
But also, I could see if this exchange was between Duchovny and Anderson, I could see it like absolutely singing.
Yeah.
I think it's a big part of it is the not a girl, not yet a woman of Lyle Parker, who is saying the lines of a child, but is in fact a fully grown man.
Yeah. Oh God. I'm so glad that this is just really settling in as what we're going to refer to Lyle as for the rest of the episode. Yeah, Scully has no answer to this. Okay, Jenny. First of all, we go to the corral. I actually don't know what a corral is. Is it where the horses are kept, where the cows are kept? They need a corral? I don't know. But we go there. I have noted that I think that Scully shouting facts across a field, a corral, a patch of woods is going to be a theme because we get it here.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's an X-Files classic.
Blah 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 blah. Mac pointing out in Mac's notes that this is a particular burn, definitely like period specific, but this moment that Scully says like, "Why are you interested in this case? Any agent could have investigated a reservation homicide." Does not feel very good because while period appropriate, any agent simply should not be able to actually investigate a reservation homicide. Jenny, I wanted to know if you wrote anything in your notes about how dramatically Mulder closes his umbrella upon seeing the tracks in the mud.
No, I did not. But now that you're saying it, like I can not just see it in my mind, but I can feel it in my skin.
You probably got like a little bit of the spray from the umbrella that flew off of it when he slapped it down. Yeah.
For sure.
And I wrote here for you, really, Jenny, when you saw, I don't have a finish, so it's really just, I'm tossing it your way. When you saw just one set of footprints that turned from human to animal.
Yeah, Mulder looking back across a long beach into the horizon where he sees only one set of footprints. The right foot is human, the left foot is a wolf paw. And he's like, oh, it was there that you carried me.
It was there that the X-Files carried me.
Mulder sees these footprints, these human footprints turning into animal footprints, and he thinks his day cannot possibly get any better until Scully says, there's nothing unexplainable about this case. And he says, nope, not a thing, while whipping a complete glove of shed human skin in her face.
Jenny, I really feel like the word waggling is required in this moment. And I thought you were going to use it.
Oh,
I
he's
really
waggling
feel like he
it
waggles
for
this
sure.
skin in her face.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, he's so excited. Scully is now in the car, like looking at this skin, and she's like, it looks like a snake skin. And they're on their way now to actually look at the body of Joe Goodensnake, because this body has been transferred to the reservation authorities, and they have to get in touch with Sheriff Toscani. We're so excited that they have to get in touch with Sheriff Toscani.
Mulder says Toscani no less than 3 times in front of Scully. And as soon as it's her time to say it, she says, Tuscany? She's like, prego.
You know
why, Scully?
You know what's really... So my wife's name is Avanti, and that is a name that maybe not everyone has heard. A lot of times I'm, with her when she says my name is Avanti, and I cannot explain to you how many times people come back and say absolutely not at all what she said. And even if she corrects them, they will continue to say a totally different thing. And I think it's like this, I mean, you could probably talk a lot about it, but I think that like something, and this is not maybe what's happening for Scully, but sometimes I think that people get in their heads about saying something wrong and so automatically say it wrong every time. It's a phenomena that I have had close proximity to lately. And I actually saw it happen to you in the brewery the other day, Jenny, with Aldrich. I said to Avanti, I was like, I think Aldrich and you are going to have some similar name experiences where it's like, I've said the name. Why are you not able to say it back to me?
Aldrich. Aldrich.
Aldrich.
I can't wait until people are they like get over that hump and then they're like young.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aldrich.
Anyway, yes, she does say Tuscany. So they get to the reservation and they bust into the tavern just like, excuse me, we're not from around here. We're looking for Sheriff Tuscany. We're looking for Sheriff Tuscany. Don't you think that they could have called the man before and simply set up a meeting? Did they have to barge into the tavern and yell that they're here and they're looking for the sheriff?
Imagine it was necessary for anyone in this entire establishment to hear them say, we're not from around here.
In case you couldn't tell. Oh, so we meet the character Ish. Ish is played by Jimmy Herman, who I've actually never seen the movie Dances with Wolves, but Dances with Wolves came out in 1990, and he is a big part of that film. And he is out of the gates. Yeah, go home, FBI.
Mulder's like, how did you know? And he says, I could smell you a mile away.
Oh my God, Mulder trying to like fucking lighten the fact that he just busted into this tavern with a ridiculous joke. They told me even though my deodorant is made for a woman, it's strong enough for a man. I'm like, Mulder, shut up. Stop it. You're literally embarrassing all of us.
Ish says that he's had some experience with the FBI. Yeah. He was at Wounded Knee in 1973, and he says what he learned from that experience was that the FBI doesn't believe in them, and they don't believe in the FBI. And Muldering out is like, I want to believe. I've got a poster.
My God. Yeah. And I don't think we mentioned this at the top, but I think something that is good about this episode is how much the Indigenous folks in the episode are like, fuck the police. Like, you do not fucking care about us. And so we are not going to do anything for the most part. We'll talk about the some divergences from that. But there's a pretty big, like, you are never here for us when we need anything. And so you can fuck all the way off. And I think that is cool, that is part of this. And this is the first beat of that we get from Ish.
Yeah. And Scully's trying to be cool and by the book. She's like, we're looking for information. Anybody know anything about? And Mulder's like, we want to know what could make a human footprint with one step and an animal footprint with the next.
Scully's like, God damn it. She like stops her stopwatch and she's like, and we made it 17 seconds this time. So Ish says that Parker killed what Mulder is looking for. And Gwen, who we learn is Joe's sister, she's playing pool and she slams down her pool cue. She says, what Parker killed was my brother, and you're all too afraid of some stupid Indian legend to do anything. I hate it, and I hate suits who are always here when they want something from us, but when we need help, they're nowhere to be found. Okay, Gwen. Gwen played by Renee Morisseau. Michael Horse playing Sheriff Tuscany enters the chat. My notes say, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I love Michael Horse so much.
Love to see this man.
I know him, of course, from Twin Peaks. I later have a note, which I'm just going to say now. Does anyone look better getting out of a pickup truck than Michael Horse? I challenge you to a duel. I love this man.
What, Bella Swan doesn't look...
For the listeners at home, Jenny did some of her best acting. I was like I fully thought you were like, what the fuck, Kristin? You got me.
Okay, so he takes them over to his office and assures them that he keeps the ancient beliefs out there and the police work in here.
Yeah, Tuscany having a role with his job as the sheriff, but the sheriff for the reservation, of sort of like walking this line where he's very committed to serving the people on the reservation, but also has to navigate pretty white waters, with dealing with cops and dealing with the law and what have you. There's probably many ways to look at this. The Métis in Space hosts talked about his role as sort of like the good Indian, the good native, right? The guy that like you can pull aside and say like, okay, but you don't really believe this, do you? And like he'll maybe agree with you and then you'll feel better. But I also think that like having to navigate the position that he's in has to be an incredibly complicated one. And I saw that big time in Michael Horse's portrayal of the role.
Yeah. He's doing a lot.
Yeah. We meet Bill and Tom. They're standing outside of Toscani's office, and Toscani explains that Bill and Tom are the guardians of the dead. They escort the deceased spirits into the new world, and we'll see them later at the funeral as well. And so Mulder starts asking Toscani what Gwen meant, and Toscani having a pretty solid moment here where he's like, hey dude, I'm not a fucking park ranger here to answer your questions. Whenever I need federal help, I never get it. You can go look at the body, but like that's it. So
yeah,
fucking hell yeah. We talk about the court case. We learn that the court case is because the Parkers have been grazing their cattle farther and farther onto the reservation. So like this is just like classic, right? Like this is it was some white dude saying like, but this is my land actually, and I should get to have it, and then going over into the reservation land when actually spoiler alert, none of the land was even yours to begin with. We get to the body of Joe Goodensnake, and we see some scar tissue, some scars on his shoulder,
looking like some claw marks.
Now, I have a question. I shouldn't ask
I'm ready.
it. Because stop asking, Kristin. But I thought that the whole vibe was that he got this through the through the bloodline. So why would he have a scratch on him? Why would he have gotten attacked?
Well, what made
werewolf?
you think that he specifically got it through a bloodline issue?
Oh, I think I just thought that was why they brought up it being passed through the bloodline.
This wolf can infect you in a variety of ways, Kristin.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so Joe got scratched, and that's how he became a werewolf, allegedly.
Right. And Mulder begins examining him and wants to look at his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
A question that I have is that does rigor not affect like your lip,
your
like
face?
Could you easily get into the mouth of a dead person? Sorry for asking. I'm just
I would assume that it affects anything that has, blood traveling through it. But I am, unlike Scully, not a medical doctor.
Yeah, this is where having my mortician friend on speed dial would be really helpful.
Yeah, phone a friend, phone a mortician. I have questions about the teeth of the whole thing, honestly, because it seems like there are fangs, but then they go away when you're...
Right. It's like, by the night.
By the night. But I love, oh my God, one of my favorite ridiculous things about this episode was how they made such a fucking point that it had nothing to do with the moon and then opened a scene on the full moon. I was like, you guys... What the fuck?
Pay no attention to the full moon.
It's like later we get a tooth that's left in a body. Yeah.
Why are the fangs still extended when he's returned to his human form? Also, why on Joe Goodensnake are the fangs on the two teeth that are directly next to the front teeth, which are not the canine cuspids, which is what Mulder calls them. The canine cuspids are the next teeth over from there. And later, when Lyle has fangs, they are his canine cuspids. So what I'd really like to know is who is the tooth expert on set and why did they fuck up so bad?
For the listeners at home, the whole time that Jenny said that, she had her two pinky fingers held up to represent the fangs, and it was really a good time to watch.
Okay. All right.
I also just want to say that there was a very dehumanizing aspect of this, like on this mouth exam on Joe Goodensnake's body. It made me very uncomfortable to watch. And I don't think it was necessary. I think like if we were to suggest that these fangs were here even after the wolf/person dies, just have them out. Like you know what I mean? Like we also have learned that in death, your body goes to relaxed position, which is eyes open, mouth open. So we would have seen these fangs. Like these fangs would not have been a reveal. All that to say, there are no fangs in the dental records. Scully's scullying out, talking about calcium deposits and shit, trying to justify full-on fangs in this man's mouth. And Mulder wants an autopsy. Toscani cannot allow that. Scully says she's fully qualified. Jenny, I asked in a recent episode if Scully could do an autopsy, and we got a few replies. Kate replied and said, I'm not a medical doctor yet, but I'm a medical student. Scully can totally do autopsies.
I knew it.
She did her residency in forensics pathology, which is a real thing. Pathology has a lot of subspecialties, including people who work in the hospital and run/read lab tests. Other physicians often consult pathologists for all sorts of things, such as determining what types of tumor or cancer a patient has to determining cause of death on patients in the hospital. Thank you, soon-to-be Dr. Kate.
Yes. But despite Scully's qualifications, Sheriff Toscani is not going to allow this. He says,
Don't tell me what I can't do. Native Americans believe that there are laws greater and more just than that of the U.S. government. If they want Joe at rest rather than used as a piece of evidence, that's the way it's going to be. If you want to make an issue out of it to your higher authority, go right ahead.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, Sheriff Toscani. And like the issue here, we haven't said it, is that they are burning Joe Goodensnake. So if they don't do this autopsy now, then there will be no autopsy that can happen after the funeral.
And Toscani cites a belief about passage into the afterlife that requires sort of like not disturbing the body.
Yeah. And I think like he's doing a big lift here to stand his ground by explaining that he is there to serve the people on this reservation, right? That's what he says. He doesn't say like, this is what I believe, this is what blah, blah, blah. He says, my job is I have to answer to the people on this reservation. So you can do whatever you need to do in your investigation, but you have to do it without this man's body because I am here to serve them. And I think, whatever. I just feel like he does a pretty good job of drawing a line in a way that like Mulder and Scully or other, white FBI agents, etc., might come into this conversation. Oh my God. A history lesson and a history lesson in the car. We heard the
over
sound
at the
clip.
funeral pyre.
Yeah, we heard the sound clip up at the top. But Jenny, what do we have here?
Kristin, we've got the very first X-File.
Incredible.
Initiated by J. Edgar Hoover, who of course takes his name from the J. Edgar Hoover building.
Wow. I knew I had heard that name before, but
1946.
couldn't figure out why.
They're talking about many murder victims, all shredded up but found at home. We're talking about police cornering what they believed to be an animal responsible for these deaths. But after shooting their guns a bunch, they found only the body of Richard Watkins. There went on to be similar deaths in 1954, 1959, 64, 78, and now 94. And then Mulder says, but, and Scully says, here it comes. And he whips out some Lewis and Clark era werewolf drawings.
Oh, Lord. I also wrote this down. Here it comes. What a fucking, I want to bottle that. Ode to Scully.
You know what feels very weird? Okay, it doesn't feel weird that Scully's not convinced, but it feels a little weird that she's just like yelling in his face, 0 to 60, yelling in his face. Even if he could transform into an animal, he's dead. End of mystery. that actually doesn't feel very Scully to me at all.
I agree. Also, I don't know how it feels to you, but she is stomping off in her Ugg boots in this scene.
I missed that.
Oh boy. I was like, interesting. Okay. I'm not sure that I buy that, but all right.
It really seemed like her thing.
All right. They go to this funeral. I write in all caps. They go to this funeral. Are we kidding? Are we kidding? We're going to go to this. Are we kidding? Two white FBI agents? Don't go to the. No.
Belong here?
You don't.
Is this the place for you?
The thing that, like, it's ridiculous that they're there. It's inappropriate that they're there. They should not be there. And what's really ridiculous, and where you can, like, see the white writers in the room, is that Ish, who's at the funeral, makes eye contact with Mulder and is like, good white man. You're a good white man.
Yeah, they have a significant nod exchange.
Get out of here. Ish would be like, you can fucking go, actually. That is what Ish would say. Ish would literally probably do that, because Ish is really, and we see it later, like, taking care of Gwen in a lot of ways. And I think this is a way that Ish would have taken care of Gwen, of like getting the FBI agents out of this fucking scene. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Gwen tells Scully she doesn't belong there, and we're all like, correct.
Yeah.
Scully, tries to maybe get a little I've lost someone too bonding in. But Gwen says Joe wasn't just a member of her family. He was her entire family.
Yeah.
And then as a part of sort of a letting go ritual, I think, a grief ritual, she gives Scully one of Joe's possessions.
Yeah, the Métis in Space host said, I was so excited in this moment because I thought she was going to finish the sentence by saying, as a demonstration of my sorrow, I am supposed to cut my hair. But then it was this instead. And we have not done a deep dive on the various, traditions and practices, and certainly couldn't, since this, the Trago people that's not a real thing. But the fact that she gives one of the things to Scully, I wrote to Scully, and then the like writing took a turn where it was like, she says it's no big deal. He had more possessions than he had friends, like sort of justifying the fact, because clearly Gwen would never fucking give Scully one of her brother's things, but it's sort of justified by the fact that there's a lot of shit she has to give away. So might as well just give one to Scully too. I'm
just remembering something.
Yeah.
We're talking a bunch about the Tragos not actually being real. And that being kind of weird. And I'm just remembering that I was recently educated on the fact that the group to which Jacob in Twilight belongs,
Lord,
is shares a name with an actual people. And as with any, sort of like major franchise that like inspires a lot of like passionate devotion, these people experienced a great deal of attention, and they're like, what? We're not werewolves. Why did you do this? Why us? Why Stephanie Meyer? Why?
Well, so many whys for Stephanie Meyer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and good point. I thought so much about the Twilight of it all in watching this, but somehow like didn't write it down even in my notes. But the application of the shapeshifter to Native American people is certainly not isolated to this episode of the X-Files, and probably the most current and the largest example of that is the exact thing that we see in Twilight with our werewolves over there. Is the thing that Gwen gives to Scully supposed to be like a tooth, or is it like it was shaped like the fang, but I don't know. Like if
I thought
wasn't
it was a claw.
A claw. Okay, so then it's just a sort of stereotypical. This is what a Native person would give.
Yeah, it's giving Native American people only have feathers, claws, and bones. Those are their possessions.
Yes, no, like records or nothing. Right, of course. Same reason they couldn't call Tuscany and set up a meeting. They had to like come into a fucking bar and just shout for the sheriff.
Right.
Okay, so Tuscany is here because this is where I get my Michael horse out of a pickup truck looking great note. And Mulder does this thing. This is a real thing, right? Where you try to like confide in someone to get information. He's like, your report was really good. It was really professional. But this is off the record. What really happened?
And Tuscany's like, go home. And Mulder's like, wait, okay, let me just pivot really quickly. Charlie, do you believe in shape-shifting? And Tuscany is like, this is a funeral.
Mulder, for the love of God, get it together.
As if all this wasn't enough. Lyle shows up on horseback. It was like, I'm just trying to, express my condolences in a very low-key way. So I've shown up backlit on horseback.
Just like just a community of color saying in every scene, can you actually go? Can you just leave? We would love it if you simply left. Could you not be here? And every white person just being like, okay, so but what you really meant was you wanted me to come to the funeral, right? No, dude.
And this is where Lyle says, I wish your brother could be here. I wish that more than anything else, which again would feel much more reasonable coming out of the mouth of a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah. Gwen, of course, loses her fucking shit, as she should. Get out of here. I don't want your respect. I want your heart to grow cold. I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Fair. And as we learn later, she goes to kick his ass. I really, really wish that Gwen had gotten to kick Lyle's ass. I mean, just a little bit. Just a couple punches.
Back at the Parker Ranch, Jim Parker is having a little porch whiskey.
And cigar.
And it's curtains for this man. He got wolfed.
The closed captioning said, faint growl, and then crickets stop chirping.
Well, it's as if nature herself was terrified, Kristin.
Exactly. The crickets were like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. He gets attacked. And also I have a note that chair he was sitting on was made horribly. He should really look into some better chairs because it shattered into a million pieces upon attack. The next morning, Scully and Mulder and Tuscany are all there. Scully says that it looks like Jim was attacked by a large predator or someone who wanted it to look that way.
Dun, dun, dun.
Immediately asking about Gwen because, of course, we saw Gwen confronting Lyle the day before.
Yep. Gwen's missing. Yeah. Lyle's missing. Scully takes a little stroll around the property and finds... Okay, Kristin finds a caged mountain lion. Later, Lyle tells her that these are like stray animals that wandered into the ranch that they then put in... That mountain lion is in a very small cage. It just lives in a very small cage. Just let it go. Just let it. There's no reason for you to hold on to this mountain lion. Just let it go do its mountain lion stuff. What?
Yeah, I just was like, do they then like take this cage and drive it farther away and like re-release it into the wild, far away from their cattle?
No, they've had this mountain lion since like his mom was alive.
That's what they're saying. Oh no, that's fucking horrible. Do they feed it? What?
Yeah, I'm glad no Parkers make it out of this episode alive.
Honestly, yeah. Goodbye, Parkers. Hopefully this land will also go back to the reservation after the death of the Parkers. I have a location for Mulder moldering here. Mulder top moldering. He's just fucking tiptoeing around in the woods, finding a tuft of wolf hair and a piece of wolf skin.
Yes.
Oh, God, Mulder.
Then Scully spies from afar a naked, unconscious Lyle. She wraps him in a blanket that appears from nowhere and is like, I'm taking him to the hospital. He's suffering from exposure. When he's been checked out, I'll question him. I feel like maybe I'm not giving law enforcement enough credit, but I just feel like this isn't how it works.
No, that man would just sit in a corner and try to feel better while they actually dealt with the murder that just happened. Or like they'd call an ambulance. Scully would not drive him to the hospital unless she has a little crush on Lyle.
Okay, Mulder's like, Tuscany, what are you hiding? And a switch, a very large switch gets flipped. And Tuscany is like, I thought it was over.
Yeah, like
it's time for me to reveal
It really is unfortunate. I thought it was over. That is a rough line from every angle. It's just like you were positioned as a character who was like serving the people that you work with and for and your community, but didn't believe this. But now you not only believe it, but you were the whole time trying to like make sure its head stopped.
Michael Horse is delivering. It's just the writing is just a little stiff.
Michael Horse is fucking perfect. It is definitely not that. Also, they pull a whole tooth out of Jim. So I just back to my tooth questions. Are there unlimited teeth? If a tooth gets stuck, do you just pop out a new one? What's the vibe? All right. We're at the hospital. We still don't have Scully at your bedside jingle as requested by Laura Zach several episodes ago, but we really need one because Scully is at Lyle's bedside.
I'll put that on the list. Hang on. A note has been made.
Lyle says he picked up some bourbon and he doesn't remember anything after that.
Listen, who among us hasn't gotten a little bourbon drunk, stripped off our clothes, and passed out in a field somewhere?
Oh God, we get this.
While he suggests thinking about our mothers. Yes. He likes to go look at the caged animals and think about his mom.
That's what's like super wild to me is because I'm like, what is trying to happen in this moment? Are we trying to get viewers attached to the character of Lyle? Because usually if you have like a dude talking about his love for animals and his mother, it's a vehicle for like us to feel sad when he then dies, but it does not really land for me here. I'm just like, what? So Scully has something.
She's like, her energy is like, you know, the Felix the cat clocks where it's like the tail is the pendulum and then the eyes are just like side to side to side. She's like, have you side glance? Talk to side glance. Your father side glance.
I'm playing like a sound clip of when she tells Lyle what happened because I literally rewound it like 400 times. I cannot get over it.
Your father's dead.
Oh my God, Scully.
Kristin, how would you, if you had to characterize this delivery, how would you do it?
Like an
Scully's energy.
Scully's energy is, I mean, she just doesn't. Is rip the Band-Aid off a kind of energy?
Yeah. That's definitely a kind of energy. I'd say I'm a medical doctor. I'm not supposed to have a bedside manner is also an energy.
Sure. Does she get her jingle or no? She only gets her jingle when we say it.
That's right.
Oh God. Just awful. Just like so many other ways. Like there was an attack last night. Like anything. Just your father's dead.
I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this.
Yeah.
Literally anything, Scully.
Anything. It appears he's been attacked by an animal, but Scully suspects homicide. Scully's just trying to bond with everyone who's lost a person.
She's like, has anyone here lost a father? Fathers, daughters.
Heard of
Lyle also asks if it's his fault, which once again has very 15-year-old boy energy.
He says he understands death because he always watches animals outside, so he like actually really gets it. He's fine with his dad being dead unless he was responsible for it. Which causes Scully to put her little Scully hand right on his little Lyle arm. Interesting.
Okay, so Toscani takes Mulder to Ish's house. Toscani's like, I can't tell you what's up, but I'm going to take you somewhere to someone who can. And of course, it's the only other guy you've talked to on the reservation. Here he is.
Yes, and of course, it's the only other guy who is like sitting in a shadow the whole time. It's just done. A lot of this is done very dramatically, but heavy-handedly. So this is where we get this. This is not what Ish would do. I just believe it in my whole self. But what Ish does is he says to Mulder that he saw this creature once It seemed like a dream. And then he burns Charlie by saying to Mulder, I sense you are different, FBI. You're more open to Native American belief than some Native Americans.
Looks pointedly at Toscani.
Record fucking scratch. Enough. What has Mulder done except for like maybe suggested that he might believe that there are shapeshifters in the world? Like, definitely this is whatever. And then he takes it even a step further by being like, you even have an Indian name, Fox. They have this whole banter about his name. And it's really reaching for like Mulder as good white guy. And as we said before, it's not landing.
So Ish talks about the lore, the story, according to this episode of television, what is a Manitou?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about seeing Watkins change into an animal before his very eyes, and this is sometime after some like murders have been going on in the area. And he says his eyes begged me to kill him. You know how you make eye contact with someone and you can just experience fully formed sentences coming from their eyes?
See, Jenny? So we're writing a book, and a lot of times I write things about like what my eyes said or what Jenny's eyes said, and Jenny's always like, Kristin, delete, and then like says it a better way, I'm like, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm just like Ish, and I can read full sentences in the eyeballs. But we get we get it.
He also like lays down the by night, not by full moon.
I think it literally might be the next scene that opens on a full moon. But yeah, and he also gives us some descriptors that we will then see, right? Like he was in a lot of pain, he was sweating. Like we'll see all of this like echoed in the scene, the transformation scene with Lyle.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about Manitou and the absolutely inappropriate use of that word, so we don't have to do that again here. But this is where we get this word really clearly stated by Ish.
Right. And also Ish mentions that after the police killed Watkins 8 years later or whatever, some murders started up again. And he was like, oh, well, Watkins had a son. It passed through the bloodline. And it's like, okay, again, this question of like, what's up with the bloodline? Because like if the murders had only been going on, say 8 years.
Yeah.
So let's say he became this thing 8 years ago and has a son sometime in that period, and then your like 7-year-old son becomes wolf by night. That doesn't make a ton of sense.
It's like the only reason they put that bloodline shit in there was to try to contain it into this indigenous community, but they
Oh, I thought they were throwing it in there so that they could cast suspicion on Gwen.
Oh, okay. Also that. Yep, that makes sense. Why? Okay. It's just it's messy. You said this, Jenny, briefly, that like it overtakes a man by night, but I did like the idea that instead of like if you take all the other bullshit out of it and say this is just a story about werewolf lore, I thought it was really cool to suggest that it isn't by the like moon cycle, but it's actually when like this bloodlust builds to a point. Like it's basically like as you're like clicking up this scale, you finally get to the point of breaking. That was pretty cool. And then like once you sort of release the beast within, right, then the next morning you wake up and that whole like the meter's been reset to 0. Wild in the case of Lyle, who has literally just transformed into the wolf the night before and then transforms again the next day. He must have a lot of maybe it's because he's not a girl, not yet a woman. He has more bloodlust. Maybe this is the story of Lyle getting his period, the whole thing.
Kristin,
I'm sorry. I'll go. I'll see myself out.
They pop outside to discover Gwen trying to steal Ish's truck, and she is shook. They stop her. They get out of the truck. She's very scared. She says she saw an animal kill Parker because she went by the ranch to like kick Lyle's ass. Yeah. But instead, what she got was a face full of Jim Parker getting murdered by this animal. She says, I hid in the woods all day. Isn't the woods the last place you would want to be?
Seriously.
And also, she hid in the woods so good that she is like covered in dirt from head to toe.
It does feel like
I
if
just
you
have some strategy questions for Gwen.
Yeah, like you would maybe just go back to the place where like people are, so that you would be like near people, not like alone in the woods where like a large animal might live.
That's what I would do, but also, hey, Gwen survived the night and day.
It's true.
So
Toscani says she's under arrest for stealing Ish's car. And after she explains what she saw, Ish and Toscani take her inside to like sort of take care of her because she is not okay.
Mulder calls the hospital looking for Scully. He talks to a doctor who says, okay, Scully left with Lyle already. And then he's like, I found traces of Lyle's father's blood type in him that could only be there from ingestion. Is this real? How is through sort of standard physical, like I'm checking up on your sort of like holistic physical health tests.
Yeah.
Is this something that would come to dear medical doctors listening to the pod?
Yep.
Is there anything to this, or is this just total nonsense? Please let us know.
The same question. Is this for real in Kristin Russo's notes?
Because if it does, it's going to have a major impact on how much of other people's blood I consume moving forward.
Also, this doctor at this hospital is like so into being a part of the case. He's like, well, I found some extra special fun facts for you, Mulder.
Yeah. He's pumped.
Scully and Lyle are in the car. I've given them a ship name, Sklyly. Sklyly is driving back to the lodge. I like it. I love when I get Jenny to laugh, you know?
Okay, so is it SCLYLE or is it SCLYLLY?
Neither. I spelled it SCLYLEY. Slyly.
What a gift. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Oh boy. Okay. What's next?
Oh, the full moon. I wrote it in my notes. The full moon is next.
Full moon.
The power is out. Lyle goes to get the generator on. He feels super sick from drinking all that blood, all his daddy's blood. Oh, and he
shuts himself in the bathroom.
Yeah, he shuts himself in the bathroom. This is where we get the shot that I really love, where his back.
The transformation stuff, the arching, the sweating, the whole eye contact, the sound design. It's like all very like stretchy, cracky. My bones are changing shape. Very good, very good, very good. Cool. His fangs are in the cuspid canine location, and I celebrate that. Great, slow, sweaty morph. Even the skin ripping on the hand, with revealing fur underneath. You'll love to see it. Mm-hmm. Scully's out there trying to like take the whole door.
She's trying to like take the lock on the door. Scully, stop.
And she's getting very close, but then Wolf Lyle bursts through the door.
Oh my God. Mulder and Toscani arrive, and we get some gorgeous angel lighting on Mulder as he moulders about in the house. Oh my God, Jenny, I can't even wait to get there in the fucking moment, because all I want, if someone wants to make me a gift, all I want is a compilation of every time Mulder whispers Scully's name, but like screams it at the same time.
Yeah, whisper scream.
Scully,
for sure.
Scully, like,
Scully.
dude,
Scully.
Anyone can hear you saying that. Like,
especially somebody with wolf ears.
Yeah.
How about when his government issue flashlight beam finds some telltale scritches in the wood of the wall?
Yeah, Wolf Lyle just needing to like sharpen his claws a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then outside, in this sort of like parallel moment, Toscani's flashlight beam catches the mountain lion's face, and the Toscani reaction shot feels unfair to the character of Sheriff Charlie Toscani. He like jumps into the air.
Please. Toscani has known this mountain lion has been in this cage for like weeks.
Yeah, they're buddies.
He's been like petitioning, to get this fucking mountain lion released out of this fucking cage.
Yeah.
We get a wolf body run here. I don't like it. I would like to make sure that everyone understands I don't like to see the whole body of the wolf. I was not
Yeah,
getting
the whole body of the
approval
wolf
to
is bad. Goes running across the room. Mulder shoots at it. Then he shoots the snout off of the taxidermied bear head.
I like that. It worked for me.
I just mourn the loss of that beautifully taxidermied bear head. Not
that's
that,
true.
I don't want taxidermy to happen, but if it has already happened, I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
It's like nature.
Yeah.
That's probably warped and bad, but
Bad,
I
Jenny.
am who I am.
Scully grabs
him in the dark. She's like, boo.
Yeah. And now, Jenny, I can't see it, but I could feel it. It's significant eye contact here in the dark in this lodge.
They can't see anything, but they're just staring into the darkness.
But
at
their
each
eyes
other.
like light up from behind because they've locked contact.
So they continue to kind of move slowly through the house together until inevitably the monster locates them, leaps, but then is shot down by Tuscany. Thank you for protecting our beloved special agents. And then as soon as, once again, the proverbial smoke clears, oh shit, it's Lyle, because of course it is. Scully's like, I thought it was the mountain lion from outside. I thought the mountain lion broke free from its cage at long sweet last and was like, you know what I'm gonna do with my newfound freedom? Go into the house.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps to,
Take revenge,
claim
on
vengeance.
captors. Yeah, definitely. I also feel like at this point in Mulder's career, he would just also have a trank gun. Like, we've seen him with the Jersey
Two stopwatches,
Devil.
one can of spray paint, and a trank gun.
And a trank gun. Like in the Buffyverse, they always had a trank gun on hand, Like, where's our trank gun?
Yeah.
Obviously, Tuscany says, hey, I was outside and the mountain lion is still there. This was not the mountain lion. All right. Well, Scully and Mulder are leaving Tuscany's. Gwen left, gave away all her possessions. And we get that I'm sorry, but I couldn't with this exchange. Tuscany says about Gwen, maybe she saw something she wasn't ready to understand. Beat Scully. Maybe. Okay, we get it. We get it. We get it. We get it. Okay.
Scully wants to believe.
She wants to believe, but maybe she's not ready. Maybe her and Gwen should just share a beer and talk about that they weren't ready to see it. Oh, Lord.
Ish says, FBI, see you in about 8 years. And leaving the door way open for a sequel episode. And Mulder says, I hope not.
Yeah.
And we all say, I hope not.
We all hope not. I do there was a lot that I said about Ish and that I feel is not really what this actual character would have done. But I do like that he literally just calls him FBI the whole time. That is a great choice.
Very nice. And then we get a moody landscape shot as they drive away. Whoa.
I was waiting for the next scene. I'm not used to this from the show. It's just trees, mist, wolf howl, out.
Speaking of, howling?
Wow. I can't believe that you didn't go Misty Nights in Montana, Sham.
Windy evening in Montana, Sham with a 3-wolf problem. It's time for the Sexual Attention Awards. Sexual Attention Award. Welcome back to another installment of the Sexual Attention Awards. We are a little light on noms today because of all the stuff that was going on in this episode that worked against us coming up with noms. However, don't worry. We found a way for you to still cast a vote if you should so choose. We only have 2 slots today, and neither of them is the mothership, despite significant eye contact, which, might imply otherwise. But I'm just not feeling it. Scully's attentions are elsewhere. Mm-hmm. In slot number 1, she's at his bedside. She's driving him to the hospital.
Naked.
She doesn't even get him dressed. She's just like, get in my car in this blanket. It's Scully and Lyle, aka Sklyly,
Fuck yeah. Hashtag Sklyly. Tag all your posts.
And it's slot number 2. He's dramatically closing his umbrella. He's following footprints in the mud. He's tiptoeing around the perimeter.
Finding tufts of
waggling.
hair.
He's waggling skin gloves directly in your face. It's Mulder and Muldering.
Oh, Lord. This man.
That's where it's at for this episode. Please cast your vote. Head on over to bufferingcast.com/STA and tell us where you think the tension really is. Thank you.
Sexual attention award.
Okay, Kristin, if I could just bother your eyes for one moment to look in a different direction, look away from the STAs and just look over. Oh, look over here at this shiny purple, glowing from within,
Beautiful
orb.
Love it.
Gaze deep into Kristin's crystal ball.
Kristin's crystal ball, she can see it all. What's coming down the pike, I'm sure she'll get it right.
Kristin.
Yes, Jenny. Welcome to the room where me and my crystal ball sit.
Okay, I want to know
Mm-hmm.
if you think we'll see any of the following in the future. It's very simple this week. I just want to know, do you think we'll ever see Michael Horse again on this show?
No, I'm sad about it. Me and my crystal ball.
Do you think we'll ever see this precise area of Montana again?
No.
Do you think we'll ever see werewolves of any kind or origin?
Fuck yes, absolutely, 100%.
Well, all right.
My crystal ball is
Well, all
taking
right.
it light this week. It's warming up for 2 live shows. It's got a big lift coming up for it.
Got to stay limber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No Michael Horse. No, this particular part of Montana. Yes, werewolves. They're everywhere. You know.
Yeah.
Werewolves, not swearwolves, as I always say.
I always say that too. Well, Kristin, I would say the status of this X-File is in no way impacted by the phases of the moon, but rather by the changing of day into night. Wouldn't you?
Perfect. Yeah, I would. Every time it changes from day to night, I look at that file, you know? I'm like, is that file okay? What's happening with that file?
Well, I have been and am and will continue to be Jenny Owen Youngs. And when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy, I'm usually making music. I have a brand new album that just came out on Friday. It just came out September 22nd. I think it's pretty all right, and I hope you'll consider giving it a listen. You can check that out on my website or wherever you stream music or on my Bandcamp or at your local independent record store. The album is called Avalanche. You can also still get tickets for my fall tour dates. I will be coming through Brooklyn, DC, Philly, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. Hit up JennyOwenYoungs.com. Give me a shout on ye old socials. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc. at Jenny Owen Youngs.
You got to go see her, you guys. If you're close to
Come on out.
If you're close to where she's going to be, you got to go see her. I mean, you know, if you've seen her before, you know you're going to go see her again. But if you're listening to this and you've never seen Jenny Owen Youngs just absolutely destroy a room with a musical performance, you need to see it. It's a very different thing than a podcast. I don't know if you know that about music, but it is real different. And it is something that you do. Because that's, not every musician can just destroy people in a room live.
God, okay, she's really overselling it.
I'm not. I've seen it. I've seen it a million times. I've never seen you not destroy a room.
What if they listen to you and come to the show and then I don't destroy them?
Well, I'll let you doubt yourself all you want, Jenny, but it only fuels the fire that makes you perform well. So
True. Oh, and I should also say that both friend and editor of the pod, John Mark Nelson, is going to be opening and also joining me on stage for all of those dates. It's going to be so fun, and he's the best, and he's so good at music, and I love him so much, and he has a very mesmerizing beard and a sonorous voice, and if not me, then at least do it for John Mark. Come on out.
Fuck yeah. Wow. I really feel left out. What about me? What about little Kristin?
Kristin, I don't know how, if you don't think that I have nice things to think and say about you after I've made over 200 episodes of podcasts with you, I don't know what to tell you.
My name is Kristin Russo. When I'm not championing the music of Jenny Owen Youngs or watching the X-Files or Buffy or other television shows, I am usually working with and for LGBTQ communities. You can follow me on social media at Kristin Noeline. That's KristinNoeline. Right now, a lot of the work that I'm doing is like behind closed doors because I'm working on the
Cue sexy saxophone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a book about coming out, quick and easy guide to coming out, and it's really exciting, Jenny, because I finished. I'm writing the script, and I'm working with an amazing artist who is right now doing the thumbnails and soon to be pencils of this because it's in like a graphic novel format, and it is
cool,
really exciting. It is, a ways away from being in your hands, but if you follow me in those places, you'll learn about it. And you can learn about all the other things I do. I've got a queer book club and a queer horror movie watch club, which is very fun. KristinNoeline.com will give you all the details.
Buffering, a rewatch adventure, is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast. You can email us at hello@bufferingcast.com or email the Crystal Ball at crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
You can support our work by leaving us a review. We have all different feeds for our shows now. So if you are a champion supporter and want to leave us a good review in one of those new feeds, they're all linked in the show notes below. You can, of course, join us on Patreon. We are in the middle of Pumpkin Spike Autumn, where we are watching several Spike-themed episodes. We just watched Something Blue yesterday with the group. It's a good time. You can learn all about that at bufferingcast.com.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson, with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Until next time.
Your father is dead. Sorry. I'm sorry. I never think of anything to say, and I thought of something that time.
Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Finding a new podcast to listen to is easy. Finding a good new podcast, that's a little tougher. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. If you like fascinating information you can use in your life from some of the top experts in the world, you're going to like Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and recently we've covered topics like the benefits of laughing, the science of dreaming, where your deep desires come from, even how to make the perfect burger. We produce 3 episodes a week, and each episode is packed with rock-solid intel that will make your life better. And we have a lot of fun doing it. Something You Should Know has been ranked on the Apple Podcast charts every day for over 7 years. A lot of people like this podcast, and you will too. Listen to Something You Should Know wherever you get your podcasts. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. It's Something You Should Know.